Hello guys, Wednesday morning, second last day of school of grade 1. Who's excited and who's crying? I'm kind of crying, but I mean, summer is kind of fun too, right? So a bit of bittersweet things. So yesterday was a crazy story in the book of Esther, right? Because Mordecai, Haman wants the Jews to be destroyed. The 13th day of the 12th month, the people in King Ahasuerus' kingdom are allowed to kill the Jews. That includes Mordecai and Esther, the queen. But King Ahasuerus does not know yet that Queen Esther is an Israelite. I think he's going to find out in today's story. And in yesterday's story too, Haman had to walk around Mordecai, who was on the king's horse, and he had to say to all the people, this is what the Lord does, or this is what the king does to the man that he loves. And that was quite embarrassing for Haman, because he thought he was going to be that one on the horse. Well, let's listen to the end of Esther. We're going to finish the book of Esther already, because it's also a short book about what's happening. So bear with me as I share the screen for one of the last times and enjoy the story. So remember, Esther had asked the king for another dinner with the king and Haman, and she had said to the king, then I will answer your question. And so, boys and girls, as they were drinking wine, the king asked Queen Esther, what is your request? What do you want? Even if it is half of my kingdom, I will give it to you. And then Queen Esther was very honest, and she said, my request, my only request, is that you save my life and the lives of my people, because we are going to be destroyed. And the king was upset to hear that, and he said, who has dared to want to destroy your life? The king really wanted to know. And then Esther replies, an enemy. And then she pointed at Haman, that man, Haman. And Haman looked scared and terrified. What was the king going to do now? Now the king was very upset that he had been tricked, because he had given Haman that special ring, his special ring, right? So that Haman could write a new law. And now he did not know that his Queen Esther, was actually a Jew. So he got up and he left and he went to walk in the palace garden. And Haman went up to Esther and started to beg Esther, please, please save my life. And when King Ahasuerus came back into the room, he saw Haman falling on the couch where Esther was. And he was so angry that he asked his guards to come in and to grab Haman. And then one of his guards said to King Ahasuerus, did you know that Haman, this man, he has a large pole set up, and he wanted Mordecai to be hung on that pole? Now, when King Ahasuerus heard this, he said to his servants, take Haman and put him on that pole instead of Mordecai. And Haman was killed that very day. And that day, boys and girls, Queen Esther was given Haman's land and house. And then Esther told King Ahasuerus that she was actually family with Mordecai. And then so the king gave Mordecai Mordecai his special ring. And Esther told Mordecai that he was now in charge of Haman's riches and wealth. But boys and girls, this does not change the fact that there was still a law that on the 13th day of the 12th month, all the Jews were going to be destroyed. And so Esther fell at the king's feet, weeping and begging him to put a stop to the evil plan to kill the Jews. And she knew that the law could not be changed. But she did ask, if it pleases you, King Ahasuerus, let us also write a new rule. And King Ahasuerus said, why don't you write another law and put my ring on it? Because then it will not be changed. And guess what, boys and girls? There was a new law written that on the 13th day of the 12th month, the Jews had a right to protect themselves if anyone attacked them, and to also fight back. And boys and girls, this new rule was read out in all of the kingdom that belonged to King Ahasuerus, and it was a big kingdom, right? So now all the Jews' enemies, the Israelite enemies, knew that the Jews were allowed to fight back. When Mordecai left the palace that day, boys and girls, wearing his royal robe and wearing a crown, the Jews, the Israelites, celebrated the wonderful new law. And the enemies became very afraid. The 13th day of the 12th month was the date the enemies of the Jews hoped to destroy them. But the Jews got ready to attack. And boys and girls, finally that day was there. And God was with the Jews. And any time their enemies would come up to them, the Jews would fight back and kill anyone who tried to kill them. And Haman's 10 sons, boys and girls, and another 500 men who hated the Jews were destroyed. And boys and girls, that day and the next day, 75,000 enemies of the Jews were killed. God was with his people, and God's enemies were destroyed. And Mordecai wrote about what happened. And then he sent letters to the Jews telling them that every year for 2 days they should celebrate this amazing battle, this amazing victory, this amazing win. And it was called the Feast of Purim. It was a day of feasting and joy. People gave presents to each other. And every year, boys and girls, for 2 days, the Israelites would celebrate and remember that God had been with the Israelites, had protected them, and that the other people knew that there was a God who lived forever and ever. And boys and girls, the God that Mordecai and Esther worshipped, that is the same God that we worship today. He does not change. He looks after his people. He does not forget his people. And what a beautiful gift we have, that God has chosen us, you and I, your mom and dad, to be his children. Let us now today live with so much joy in our hearts that he has chosen us. And let us also share the good news with those who do not yet know God. What another beautiful story, the book of Esther. If you want to read it yourself, you can find it in your own Bible. Maybe you can read it over the summer too. A lot of you guys can read a lot of the words in the Bible. Okay, have a fantastic day today. Bye-bye.